All right, so coning, okay? We want to practice this. We want to make sure that we get this spinning perfectly in a circle. I don't know if you guys can see that on the camera, but you can see my hands are kind of moving, my fingertips, they're kind of bouncing around. They should be perfectly steady if the clay is completely centered, all right? So lean into it, pull back. Clay starts to rise. As it does, I bring my hands up and follow it there. I'm not squeezing the clay like this. I'm not trying to do anything like that. The compression is from me leaning forward and pulling back. This is the motion, all right? If you don't do that, I guarantee you're gonna have all kinds of difficulties. This will just make it a lot easier, all right? 1, 2, 3, lean the clay forward, slow it down, slowly bring it down. Wheel moves fast, hands move slow. You'll hear me say that quite a bit, okay? But make sure that we lean into it so that it's not moving. Okay, sometimes you can kind of just hold it there. Okay, so that it stops moving altogether. As far as moving left and right or moving your hands left to right, you can use your finger to do that, or you can use the rib. Either one will work just fine. I usually just tend to use my fingers on it. Okay, one more time I think I need to do this. Bring the clay up. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Lean the clay forward, slowly force the clay to go down. Okay, I'm really pushing a lot of pressure this way on this part of my hand, to really make sure that that clay is going where I want it to, and the clay is not pushing me around where it wants me to go. And notice that I've got my nose almost directly over the clay. I don't know if you guys can see that in the video, but I've got my nose almost directly over it so that I can see from the top what's going on with the clay and how that's working. Okay, and making sure that I've got that I can see that if there's any kind of wobble in it a little bit. And then once I feel like I've got it centered, my hands aren't moving, the clay feels like it's right where I want it to be. I'm just gonna slowly move my hands away from the clay. Nope, still got a little bit of wobble in it. So let's bring it back up. And you have to have patience, okay? It doesn't necessarily happen overnight. It's not gonna be the first time that you do the coning, it's gonna be perfectly centered every time. Even some of the masters, they have to do it a couple of times. So, just make sure you're patient and just kind of feel the clay as it goes up and down, as you're manipulating it. I think I got right about there. That's pretty darn good. That's close enough, I think. Okay. Try not to settle for close enough. Try to make sure that you can, you don't feel any kind of movement in the side of it. So as your hands are on there, they're perfectly steady, just like that. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and start doing what's called opening the hole. All right. So my hands are just going to my right hand's going to kind of move around. I'm going to attach them both to my bodies. Notice that my elbows are always kind of in the same place. My hands are pretty much in the same direction. My left hand always stays like this, 90-degree angle to the clay, and then as vertical as I possibly can get it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to slowly start putting pressure on the top and create a little bit of a hole here, okay, or a little bit of a cup. Okay, just like that. I don't know if you guys can see it. Hopefully you can in the video. Okay, and then I'm going to fill that cup with some water because I've exposed the new clay. It's going to be really sticky, so I've got to make sure that's nice and soft. And then what I'm going to do is, after I filled that with water, I'm going to slowly start pushing my thumbs down so that they go right down straight in the middle as close as I can get it. Okay, if it develops a little bit of a wobble, it's not the end of the world. It just means that your hands aren't going down perfectly straight. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my left hand's just going to be kind of going here along with the right, kind of like I'm grabbing a soda or something like that, holding on to it. I'm not gripping it, I'm just kind of using it to help brace. My right hand, I'm going to take 2 fingers and I'm going to start slowly pushing them down in the middle. Okay? I'm going to go straight down in the middle as I can. Okay? Till I get to where I think I'm about a 1/2 inch from the bottom. 1/2 inch is roughly the thickness of your needle tool. Okay? So I'm kind of just guessing at this point. All right? Now, because this is a little bit taller, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull back on the inside wall of the clay to open this up a little bit, to make that opening a little bit wider. You can kind of see that. Okay? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and stop my clay, and I'm going to measure it. I'm gonna take my needle tool, I press it down through the bottom of the clay till it stops, okay? So this is actually touching the wheel head, all right? Then I'm gonna go ahead and slide my finger down, press it to the side. Once the fingertip touches the bottom of my clay, I'm gonna press it to the side of my needle tool so then I can measure that it's about that thickness, okay, at the bottom, which isn't too bad. It's pretty close. I could probably go a little bit deeper. I'm gonna try that, okay? So, get it back up to spinning full speed, go down a little bit deeper, okay? Not too much, just a little, like 1/4 of an inch or 1/8 of an inch or so, just so it's nice and done there, okay? So, what I've got going on the inside, and the best way I've done this is to draw it out so you guys can kind of see what I'm doing, okay? So here's the wheel head, and then here's my lump of clay, all right? So what I did is I pressed my fingers down on the inside, okay? Just like that. And what I did is it opened it up, okay? So that my clay was kind of shaped like that, all right? Then I pulled my hands out a little bit wider, okay, to open this up, and makes the clay a little bit more open, okay? So it looks something more like that, okay, on the inside. So you're looking at a profile of what my clay kind of looks like. So then I took my needle tool, I poked it down through the bottom, okay, slid my finger down until it touched, and then I was able to measure it, all right? Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put my finger back inside, slide my fingers to the outside, creating the shape of the bottom of the inside of my bowl, vase, cup, whatever it is I'm making, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sweep my fingers out as straight as I can, because that's gonna create kind of a flat inside bottom of it, okay, so that the clay looks kind of like that. At that point, I'll then flatten my fingers out and I'll open it up, and I should have something that looks kind of like this, okay? Hopefully that makes sense, okay, when I get to it. All right, so it's gonna look a little something like this. Keep spinning full speed at this point, okay? I add a little bit of water inside because it dried out, all right? So I'm gonna sweep my fingers outward, pulling them back towards me till I get about a 1/2 inch from that outside edge, just using my fingertips, okay? And then I'm going to flatten my fingers out, and I'm gonna stretch this clay out wider and make the clay a little bit bigger, okay? This is called opening the hole, all right? So now that I've opened it up, I went a little bit uneven on the bottom. It wasn't exactly perfect, so I can kind of flatten this out, get rid of a little chunk of clay that's on the inside there, okay? If I wanted to, I could use my rib, which flew over here, that's right, okay? And I can use that flat side of it, okay? The round of it, I can then flatten this out perfectly, you know, just so if I do it now, it's a lot easier than if I do it later. If I do it later, then it's gonna be a lot more difficult to flatten things out. All right, so that's called opening the hole. Next video, I'll show you how to raise the wall, and we'll start doing some shaping, okay?